I talk with some agronomists that works in conventional farming.
Mm-hmm.
And many people are talking about this idea of putting more protection in the soil, like using more organic matter, or maybe using varieties with more resistant to drought. We have some research, but not as much as plagues and diseases varieties, which are resistant to plagues and diseases. And using some technology that we use in agroforestry, regenerative and organic, use this layer of protection in conventional too, because they saw there more protection, more levels of protection in these methods than the conventional ways that we usually grow coffee in large areas.
Friends, we have an announcement. On October 28, 29 and 30, Mapple Forward is proud to present the first of its kind live online event titled Introduction to Regenerative Coffee Farming. This workshop will happen live in 3 different events in English, Spanish, and Portuguese to help coffee producers and the rest of us in the coffee industry understand regenerative ag and how to implement it so that coffee farmers stand a chance at surviving these brutal weather conditions long into the future. It will also help us understand how we can talk about regenerative ag to our customers. This live online presentation will be led by highly specialized and experienced agronomists, coffee producers, and agricultural engineers who have worked transforming coffee farms from conventional farms to regenerative farms and agroforestry around the world. Tickets are $10 for coffee producers and $150 for everybody else. When you pay $150 though, you're securing your ticket and the ticket of 14 other coffee producers that didn't quite have the funds to pay for their own tickets. Not only does your ticket buy you access to the workshop, but it also gives you access to newly formed WhatsApp groups, one in English, one in Spanish, one in Portuguese, where people can continue to exchange information and ideas about regenerative ag before and after the workshops. For more details, head to mappleforward.coffee/workshops. Check the link in the show notes for details and help us spread the word about this workshop by sharing our posts on social media. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 2 of a 5-part series where we're talking about the economics of the different ways that coffee can be grown in Brazil. Now, in the last episode, Jonas, we talked about what the different methods are, and you mentioned organic farming, conventional farming, regenerative farming, agroforestry, etc., etc. Now, today, in this episode, we want to talk about the economics associated with those two things. And the reason I thought this was an interesting conversation is because when we had our preliminary conversation for this, one thing you said to me was not all ways of farming are going to be possible for all producers. And that's for a lot of different reasons. So can you tell me, as we start this conversation about the economics, because economics is not just financial, folks. Economics is all about supply and demand. So, Jonas, what are your thoughts there?
And one thing that is, for me, it's interesting about the coffee chain, it's related to how customers, traders, or roasters think about growing methods and how they could be expensive or not. They just think about what's better for sustainability or for their as a raw material, but they do not understand sometimes how expensive could be to grow coffee using that layers of protection that I said. Each layer is more expensive, of course, because it's something that you need to add to your conventional way to grow coffee in order to have more protection. I was doing some math to understand better in dollars to people to understand what real about growing coffee in Brazil. And usually when we talk about conventional ways to grow coffee for let me say, medium to small farmers, because when I talk about high level of technology farmers, and conventional is pretty expensive to do it. But if you take by total land, is not so much expensive, But the conventional way is the cheapest way in order to invest in coffee and have some money back to grow coffee. So when you talk about conventional, okay.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I have a question. When you say cheaper, do you mean cheaper in money, cheaper in time, cheaper in what? Cheaper in money?
Money in, let me say, time. In kind of, is really hard to say that, but the risks is a little bit more mitigating in terms of some parts of growing.
Okay.
Like for instance, if we have a plague or disease in conventional way, we have the technology to take care of that. If we have the specific agrochemical to use for this specific plague, in order to have some yields in the next season. And sometimes when you talk about organic, there is still a lack of technology for some kind of pesticides or fertilizer in short term to do the things, but mostly related to, let me say, price to start, because all the technology pack, it's already settled, And when you talk about organic, it's still things that we need to study to make it more efficient to the growing to the farm in order to have profit in growing, because the technology is still more research to do. There are not many technicians that work with organics or agroforest systems in Brazil. And
why?
Because it's still the pack of technologies, let me say, the most spread way to grow stuff in Brazil, or I think
so
worldwide,
prolific? When you say that, do you mean that conventional farming has the highest yield? And that's why agronomists are more inclined to encourage that kind of farming, because businesses are trying to sell more coffee. Is that correct?
Yeah, because it's still about profit, because farmers need to do profit, and the technology, the products, everything for conventional way, it's easiest to find. So if you need a product, you go to any kind of store and you have the specific product, and the companies, like big companies, have the products that you need to grow coffee in conventional way. So if I need a specific kind of fertilizer or a specific nutrient for that period or that season, I could go in a store, buy it. And when you talk about organics and other technology, like let me say organics, because the inputs for organics and regenerative are very close, the same kind of inputs. And we need to look in more for that and know better about efficiency of this product. And when you talk about conventional way, we have all the research to support that product. So, okay, if I use that as an agronomist, I said, okay, we have a product that I know is going to work, and we could find it in any store, and the company that produce that product could give me support if I have some problems. So it's the way that things usually used to be, It's the easiest in terms of having access to the information, product, and everything. So that is, I said, organic is not well spread, and there is some, of course, how can I say that? I forget the word, stereotypes related to organic growing, that farmers think, okay, is not the efficient.
It's stigmatized?
Yes, for some like it was worst 20 years ago,
Right.
because in the very beginning of organic, it's more philosophic in terms of growing. So the first farmers to try that are not very well educated in terms of growing. So they do a lot of mistakes because of that, because they are kind of experimental way to growing, because of this philosophical way to think about organics and agroforestry and regenerative methods. Now I could say we have so much more technology to do that, like products and techniques and studies. It's still far away for conventional, but we have a good level of technology to grow organics. But farmers is still very reluctant. I forget the word in English. Like they are reluctant about do that. Okay, I could have the same yields, or we could have the same level of protection if I have a plague or a disease and things like that. This is the first thing that they think. And the second, it's related to hand labor, because we need to use more hand labor in all the techniques that are not conventional. If we need to do organic, we could not use herbicides, for instance.
Yeah.
And herbicides helps a lot farmers in terms of growing stuff, because if I do not use herbicide, I need a lot of people with I don't know the right word, like a plow.
Yes.
To take the weeds out. And in terms of agroforest, we need people to do management to the trees, because it's not just about putting the trees in the fields and wait. We need to manage the trees in order to have some light in the area. If I use regenerative and organic, we need a lot of organic matter in the soil in order to put nutrients back. So to do that, we need a lot of people to spread this organic in the soil. If we're talking about mountainous area, we do not use any level of technology in terms of tractors and things like that. So it's more complicated and more expensive.
And I often think that as somebody who worked in cafes for a very, very long time, and look, I haven't been in cafes directly for about 8 years. But the one thing that I am coming to realize is I never once asked a coffee producer, what system are you using to grow your coffee? And because I didn't have the foresight to understand that, I didn't even know that that should be a question. It's why I wanted to make sure we do this series, because I want people across the entire supply chain to understand there's not just one approach to growing coffee. And coffee producers make different, make the reason to take a different approach and to implement a different system for different reasons. And now, if I understand it correctly, you were telling me that land size is the obvious one is finances. The second one you were telling me about land size, I think. Am I correct? Does land size influence the decision?
Yeah.
How?
Like huge area, we need more technology, because it always, and I think for now into the future, hand labor will be a problem for all the kinds of crops, because less people are interested in growing stuff. If you need the idea is real grow stuff, like put your hands in the ground, not relate to use big machines to do that. But many crops like coffee is still a lot of hand labor involved during the growing on the management process, which is different for soybeans or maize or or cotton or everything, because we have enough of technology to use a very small amount of hand labor.
Mm-hmm.
But coffee hand labor is still something that we have to think about. So huge lands, more technology, and more machines in order to use less hand labor.
I have a silly question, and I apologize in advance. Why is mechanization not applicable in organic farming? Given there's no chemicals involved in that process, right? So why can't you use machines in organic farming?
Yeah, you could use it. Like the reason is we not see a lot of spreading of organic lands because first, to use machinery, we need a very flat land or almost flat land in order to use the right type of machines, right? And in order to justify the buying of machines or the renting, we have to have a good size of land, because we're going to grow organic using machines in 1 hectare, which is about one sport field size.
Right. Economically, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, could make sense. I could use machines in huge areas, but the farmers sometimes think about, okay, why did I take the risk of, if I have a big land and I could use
Conventional
high
farming.
level of technology, conventional farming, take a risk to do organics. And so they decided to go to conventional way, because harvesting in organics and traditional are the same. Fertilization, I use some different types of fertilization, but I could use a machine to spread the fertilizer in the soil, no matter what. Spray stuff, like in organic, we spray stuff on the coffee tree. The only difference is that pesticides that you use in organic is usually not synthetic. It came for some kind of bacteria or fungi or some mineral or plant extract. So I could use this spray stuff using the conventional way to spray stuff, but the farmer prefer until now to take the decision to use conventional because of the investment. Some stuff, I think the biggest barrier or the biggest wall in terms of using organic growing in huge areas related to weed control is the worst part or the most complicated part of growing organic, in my opinion. I work in organics for 10 years, but not only organics, in conventional and or agroforestry, all the system. And the challenge is weed control. It's very complicated because there's no organic herbicides in the market. So they need to do it mechanically, which even if I use some kind of mower, like in a tractor, we still need to take care of the weed that grows underneath the coffee tree. And this is the most complicated part of weed control, because there's not machines that work well underneath the coffee tree to not harm the coffee tree. So they need hand labor to take these weeds in the line. And it's okay when I have 2 or 3 hectares, but when I have like 100 hectares of coffee, to do this weed control without any kind of machine that works well, it's another reason that farmers, this is a huge problem. Like I said, hand labor is the worst problem of the coffee today, because it's not just about paying, it's about to have people
availability.
to work. It's not the farmer have so much more money, the farmer which have 100 or 200 hectares, but they still need to find people that are willing and interested. And when I say willing, it's good to make a point here. That's not about people who are not interested because they are doing another thing, is because of very harsh work to do, work on the sun, in the field, with a lot of risks, which could be wasps, snakes, and everything. It's not an easy work to do. It's a very complicated to be people interested in put them in risk and working 6 or 8 hours a day under the hot sun, like we have in today, like 35 or 36 degrees Celsius. No matter if you use special clothes or everything, is a very hard work to do. That's why people are not interested so much in that. And I totally understand that, because it's a complicated job.
Especially when the kind of gig economy is shifting so much and people have many more options than they used to.
Exactly.
Culture is changing. It's not necessarily something that you have to do because your family does it. A lot of things are changing. In the next episode, folks, we're going to talk about how serious the situation is in Brazil for the crops for 24, 25 and 26. Before we do that, though, Jonas, I want to ask you a question that's related to that, but still related to this. Are the decisions that coffee producers have made with regards to the system that they chose to apply in the way that they grow coffee, did those decisions make a difference this year?
Totally. Like organic and agroforestry system this season was so much more resilient in terms of resistance to drought. Yeah, to drought and temperature too. You could, if someone are interested, and like I said, take a look in conventional farming. This season, they are suffered a lot, much more than the other system, which I talk with some agronomists that works in conventional farming. And many people are talking about this idea of putting more protection in the soil, like using more organic matter, or maybe using varieties with more resistant to drought. We have some research, but not as much as plagues and diseases varieties, which are resistant to plagues and diseases. And using some technology that we use in agroforestry, regenerative and organic, use this layer of protection in conventional too, because they saw there more protection, more levels of protection in these methods than the conventional ways that we usually grow coffee in large areas. It's still a pace, but it's important to the traditional or conventional ways, farmers or agronomists to see, okay, something is different in this area because they use some kind of technique that gives more protection. And they knew that for a long time, but they take the risk. Usually they take the risk because we thought that climate events will be something that happens in
20 years from
20,
now.
Yeah.
Right.
But now we see that every year we have something that is striking crops. So maybe we should do things now because farmers and agronomists knew that 2025, no matter if we do not have forecast for nothing yet, but they knew it will be not usual.
Really?
Yeah, people knew it because every year we have something that's not usual in climate.
Right.
So for me, it's okay. This season we have temperatures and drought. Next season we will happen something. We know that.
Okay, which is the perfect setup for the next episode. Well done, sir. We're going to talk about the seriousness of this situation. And this is where we're going to help people understand, especially for those who haven't, I guess, really grasped the seriousness of what we've been talking about on the podcast all year, but the seriousness of what's going to happen in 24, 25, and 26 crops. So tune in for the next episode, folks. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon, and stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward.